What's up, guys? Matt here with Project Unbroken. Apologies for the long hiatus. I don't have any excuses for you. But real talk, I've been busy doing some good things. We've had a lot of good stuff going on with Project Unbroken, more kind of locally in our community, trying to help out the opioid epidemic. And we're just trying to help people from all paths of life find their happiness, find their health, find their wellness, find out where they want to be going and get them on the path to that place. And as I've been helping these people and as we've been working with our community, I know that we have a huge opportunity to help a larger audience, you guys, with this channel. So I kind of want to get back into it. I really want to get back into it. But just to be honest, I got to do a better job of managing my time and my resources. But please know that Greg and I are always talking about Project Unbroken and our plans and how we can help the community at large, the Project Unbroken community, through this platform. And that's our goal here. And so I kind of want to bring it way back, and I want to talk about things that you can do to start getting on that path to feeling good, to getting away from our addictions, to getting away from lifestyles that are bad for us or unhealthy for us, and start moving in a direction towards health, wellness, happiness, prosperity, all that stuff that all of us, I think, most of us, are really searching for. So I want to get back to some things that helped me when I was getting started on that path. So for those of you who are new to the channel, Greg and I, we're really good friends. We got into our addiction together. We ended up having to cut ties in an effort for one of us, hopefully both of us, to get clean at that point, but we weren't sure. And we kind of took our separate paths, and we had a lot of success, luckily. Again, me and Greg didn't talk for about 5 years, I guess it was. And then we kind of reconnected as both of our lives were in better places. Greg was really crushing it with his business. I was really starting to get the ball rolling with my fitness business. And we came together and we started helping each other out. And through that, we thought, hey, maybe we can help some other people out. Because neither one of us approached this addiction thing or recovery thing as most people approach it, or it's definitely not your typical AA, NA, 12-step program kind of thing. We really went about it a different way, and that's something that we like to talk about, is that each and every one of us is going to have our own right path from addiction or whatever bad situation that you find yourself in that you want out of, to a place of recovery or wellness or happiness, or however you want to define that. So there's no blueprint that's going to fit just you or just me or just Greg or just your loved one who's going through it right now. And there are a couple scenarios that are similar, and there's a couple things that overlap that we think are important for finding this place of recovery or health or wellness or whatever it is. And we'll kind of go over those today. A lot of this I stumbled upon just by luck, or I had people in my corner that were able to steer me in the right direction. And that's what I want to try to do for you. So right off the bat, if you have anybody that you think this might benefit, share this with them. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to our channel. We have tons of videos that are just, talking about little pieces of addiction and recovery and our opinions and experiences with them. But to get back to the beginning, what happened with me to what was the catalyst to start moving in the right direction? And I know you guys have heard that, or you should have heard, you can't do this for anybody else, and nobody can do this for you. You're not going to get to a place where you can start this recovery process until you really want to get there. And this is, what I think in the 12 steps is like that, what do they call it? The higher power or greater power, or some power greater than yourself that's worth working and getting clean for. I know some people don't like the getting clean thing. Sorry if I offended anybody. But for me, I had a really great support system. And, I kind of found out that my life was completely unmanageable. It's just a revolving door of arrests and court and jail, and being sick and trying to find money and all that shit that I'm sure you guys are aware of, or that you're aware your loved ones might be going through. It got to the point where my life was completely unmanageable and I had to reach out for help. And I would have never done this if I was like kind of in that stage of my addiction where I'm like, all right, like I can still manage this. I'm embarrassed about my addiction, but I need this drug. Like it got to the point where I was like, fuck, I need to get the fuck out of this. And I was really lucky to have a group of people that I could go to and say, hey, I'm stuck. I don't know where to go from here. So right off the bat, if you're not at that point in your life where you really understand that you need to get out of this, it's hard. And there's a couple things that I think you can find, some internal motivators that will really help. But you got to find that thing, that motivation that's going to keep you disciplined through the rough spots of your addiction. And I'm going to kind of turn us around so we can check out the whiteboard here and keep track of some of this stuff. But the first thing that I had to find to get started on this journey was my motivation. And this is going to be different for everybody. For some people, it can be a combination of things. I don't know if you have children or loved ones that you know they need you in their lives and they need you to be clean and healthy and happy and sober. That could be a motivation. For some people, it's more of a religious thing. That's cool too. Some sort of, higher power, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. For me in particular, my motivation was my family and support system. And I wanted to get back to my old self. And when I say I want to get back to my old self, when I was growing up, when I was a kid, when I was going through school, I was generally a pretty happy person. And life happens, and you kind of go through this stage in life, and it's you can start having self-doubt. And I think this gets a lot of people into a phase where they're kind of unsure of themselves. They maybe become depressed or anxious. Social interactions become difficult to manage. And if we start self-medicating them, it can lead down a dangerous path. And that's kind of what happened with me, and it ended up with heroin, and my life became really unmanageable at that point. So a main motivator was I want to be the person that my family and my support system need me to be, in an effort to give back to them, and to help my small circle that I can. And I knew that as a heroin addict, I wasn't doing a good job. I wasn't kind of towing the line as far as my support system was concerned. And all these people were doing a lot for a really long time, holding me up. And I knew it was time that I needed to get back to them. I knew I was being selfish as a drug addict. And then second one is I had to get back to my old self. I needed to be the person that was happy, that felt good without chemicals, self-confident. That's what I wanted. And so this was like my guiding light, as far as where I wanted to go. So the first one was finding my motivation. The second one was finding help, finding how to do this. And I'm going to put support again here too. So this was a pretty difficult step because I had to reach out to some people that I cared deeply about, and I cared about how they thought about me. And I said, hey, I'm stuck in this situation. I know I've been kind of a drag on everybody's resources and energy, and I know I've been freaking everybody out, but I need to get out of this, and this is what I want to do. I want to be a better person. I want to get back to my old self. I need help doing this. And my support system was really cool with saying, like, all right, well, there's like some rehab centers. We could try to find a Suboxone clinic, and they helped me research these different ways to get clean. A lot of you guys may not have the same support system that I had. Obviously, it's going to be different. But there's a lot of resources out there. Even if you go to a meeting, find a sponsor, find somebody that will help you out with this, at least steer you in the right direction, that's a good place to start. But you need to find people that are going to hold you accountable and that are going to stay on you a little bit, because as we all know, it's easy to kind of slip back into our old ways, especially when things get uncomfortable. My third step, and I think this is a really, really important one, was finding my maintenance program. And this is where we start to get into some treacherous waters here, because there are a lot of people out there that are preying on addicts and preying on people who are addicted and want to get better. And you'll find this through people who are, maybe selling Suboxone on the street. There's even real sketchy doctors that will try to rip you off, and they did effectively rip off Greg and I when we first started to make some attempts at getting clean. You need to find a reputable resource for some sort of maintenance program. Greg took the methadone route. I prefer the Suboxone route. I think we both agree the Suboxone route is a better place to start for a lot of different reasons, but we're not going to get into that now. If you're on a maintenance program or you're on a methadone program and you're having success with it, awesome. That's good. It's just, we have other videos that we do talk more in depth about the difference between Suboxone and methadone. I had a really good success with Suboxone, but not until I found a really reputable source that could provide that Suboxone on a regular basis, along with some other amenities that really helped me out. So for me, I went to a physician slash psychiatrist team, and for me to get my monthly script of Suboxone, I had to meet with the physician, and then in a separate meeting I had to meet with the psychiatrist to kind of talk about the process, how I was feeling, our taper method, how I was going to get off of this. It was awesome. They helped me design a blueprint and a taper method, and they left a lot of the ball in my court. There was no hard timelines to begin with, but we came up with a goal of when I wanted to get off of Suboxone, and they were really helpful with that. So finding a really reputable, solid maintenance program is going to be paramount to your success. Not only getting off of heroin, but not being stuck on Suboxone or methadone for the rest of your life. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but when I got to, when I was in this stage right here, when I realized I had to kind of get away from heroin, I didn't want to be stuck in this maintenance program forever. I knew I wanted to be free and clear of any substances to make me feel or help me feel a certain way. So that was my goal, is to be off of everything by a certain point in my life. The doctors that I were working with were really helpful in that regard. Also, my support system. That teamed up together. I was solid. I knew I had a lot of resources at my back, and that it was in their best interest to get me to where I wanted to go, which was recovery. So now I have my motivation in place. I have my support system helping me find a good maintenance program, maybe being there if I need to talk to somebody, whatever. We got some things moving now. Now there's like a good platform for us to move forward. Greg and I have done this video several times, but for those of you who have not seen kind of our checklist of things, one of the most powerful and difficult stages of this whole system is letting go of all the negative people in your life. So I'm just going to put this in as social circle. Your social circle, the people you spend your time with, are going to have a huge impact on the direction that your life is headed in. And this is for all of us at any stage in our life. But when we are before this point, before we're thinking about this and we're getting high and we're doing shit to get money that we shouldn't be doing, stealing, robbing, doing whatever, our social circle is more than likely shit. And you are going to be the average of those 5 people that you're spending your time with. I know this is hard because a lot of times these are family members. These are really good friends. These are people that we've spent years with. We've gone through difficult situations and circumstances with. And we've bonded through our addiction. We've gotten closer. Now you need to let them go. And it's really hard for people to do. And a lot of people get hung up here because this is kind of where we start fucking with like heartstrings and emotional shit that's really hard to deal with. If you don't handle your social circle appropriately, you will immediately, or very quickly at least, be pulled right back to before stage 1, and you're gonna be living the same life you were living. This is why at the beginning of the video I said, like, me and Greg, it got to this point where I knew my life was unmanageable, and I was like, dude, we didn't really have a... Sorry, cut out there for a second. But back to my point, this is why Greg and I had to completely separate ourselves from each other to start moving forward. If not, what we would do is, we get together, one of us would want to quit and the other one would still kind of be in it or have more money or whatever. And we would drag each other back into our addiction. And this is going to happen. The more people that you're socializing with and hanging out with and that you're keeping in your social circle, the more people that are living that lifestyle, it's the more opportunities that you're going to have to get drugged back into it. And that's the last thing we want there. In fact, we want the complete opposite. And when we talk about our social circle and this whole program, something that was really beneficial for myself and for Greg is we injected ourselves completely into other social circles or environments where heroin was the last thing on their radar. They didn't know any heroin addicts. They didn't know anybody who was struggling with addiction. All they were focusing on mainly was, positive, healthy, happy things. That's why I own a gym now. That's what we do here. And when people come in, a lot of people come in and they're struggling with addiction or they're getting over something. They come in and it's not people commiserating about like, oh, this is like, it is really hard. I'm going through it too. Because then it's just a topic of conversation. Instead, if your social circle's worried more about like getting their finances together, improving their health, cleaning up their diet, you start focusing on those things instead of, oh, it's so hard not to do drugs or whatever your situation you're coming out of is. It's just you're being put on a completely different playing field. I always relate it to playing sports. Like they call it playing up. Like you always want to play sports with people or practice with people that are way better than you or doing way more than you. That way you get up to their level way faster. The best thing you can do if you're coming out of this situation up top, and I'm just going to say that's addiction or whatever negative experience that we're locked in, you want to get yourself as far away from any circumstance having to deal with any of that shit as you can. The opposite of addiction and depression and, just not being well is success, health, wellness, happiness. That's who you need to surround yourself with. That's who you need to make your social circle, like that's who it needs to be filled up with. People that are doing positive things, not wallowing in the shit that you used to do. You don't need that anymore. We're moving on. We're changing our social circle, and we're gonna have those people level us up to a point where at some point we can level somebody else up. That's the goal here. not only to get better, but then to start helping other people and to put yourself in a situation where you say, hey, this is how I got through it. This is how, maybe you can get through it. Or this worked for me. This didn't work for me. Because again, remember, there's no blueprint that's going to work well for everybody. We're all trying to help each other find our own path to getting better. So this is huge here. What comes along with this is new activities. So this can be anything. And there's a couple reasons that we are looking to get new activities into our life. One, because the old activities in our life would eventually kill us. But two, it improves our social circle. And it also gives us something to focus on that's not drug related, and that we can start to better ourselves through that activity. For me, fitness, CrossFit, that was my kind of catalyst. That was the thing that I became passionate about enough to where it took my focus off of just not having heroin or having something taken away from me in a way, but instead I started to focus on getting better at this. And it's going to be different for everybody. It might be yoga, it might be taking cooking classes or painting classes, whatever it is. Find something online, video games, I don't care. Something where you need to put some concentrated effort into improving, and you start to see measured improvements over a period of time due to your effort. So what this does is now we're starting to look at the important chemicals in our mind that are released by having a sense of achievement or accomplishment. And with this, we're looking at dopamine, endorphins. These are the main ones that we're going to get from new activities or a sense of accomplishment. And those are the ones that we want to try to maximize. This is the stuff that you're going to be running a little bit low on after you're getting out of your addiction. And this is what we kind of need to max it out on. If we get these new activities and we start seeing improvements in those activities, especially if it happens to be a physical activity, we're really going to max out dopamine and endorphins. That's only going to help you feel better. The only reason I got into exercise out of the gate was to jump these two up. My natural production of dopamine and endorphins. That was my number one motivation, is the junkie in me had to find a way to get these in to my system without having to put any chemicals into my body. And it works. I promise you it works. You don't need to be some fitness expert when you're an addict. Nobody expects that out of you. Anybody new to a gym is not going to be good, but that's okay, because you see those measured improvements and you slowly but surely get better. And next thing you know, you're not here anymore, but you find yourself all the way down here, and then people are coming to you and they're saying, hey, how do I get better at this? How do I get better at that? How do I get away from my addiction? And time goes by and you're there. But these new activities are vitally important, because if you don't add something to your life in an effort for it to be your new passion, because again, drugs, heroin, whatever it was, that was your passion. Now you need to put something new there to take your attention off of it, or you're still always in the back of your head going to have this void of that passion, heroin, not being there. And that's the thing you're going to fall back on when times get tough. Now, once you find something that you're truly passionate about, and it's hard, you got to say yes to a lot of things, you got to try a lot of new things. Now you're going to have something to carry you through those more difficult times, to build your self-esteem, to build your sense of self-worth. Then you start making better decisions. We make 95% of our day-to-day decisions with our subconscious mind. So what happens when our self-esteem is garbage, when we're up here at the beginning of this whole process, is we make those subconscious decisions based off of how we view ourselves. And if you're anything like me, when I was rock bottom, I thought I was a piece of shit who wasn't worth doing fucking anything for. So I kept making bad decisions based on that self-image. I was like, in my head, my subconscious was saying, he's not worth putting any effort into. He's not worth doing anything difficult for to improve himself. And that's what I did. But once I started getting these new activities involved in my life and started to like fake it till you make it, started to see a little bit of progress, then that subconscious was like, all right, like maybe you can, make something out of yourself. Maybe you can see these improvements. That starts to take over your whole thought process. Next thing you know, you're making a lot of good decisions just because that's your subconscious is like, oh yeah, like he deserves that or she deserves that. Like you got to do that. You got to eat better. You got to exercise. Your subconscious starts making those decisions for you just based off of you putting some effort into new activities, into making yourself better, into maximizing dopamine, endorphins, and then serotonin, oxytocin. Your relationships improve. Everything gets better exponentially. But you have to keep these things in line. You gotta figure out your motivation. You have to figure out your why you're quitting in the first place. And that's gonna be different for everybody, and that's okay. You gotta find the help and the support that you need to get through this because in the beginning it's not gonna be easy. You have the Project Unbroken community. Get in the comment section. You'll dig through thousands of comments of people just asking how people are doing, carrying it on. Find our Facebook group, sign up for our Facebook group. Get in that community, reach out, ask questions. Maintenance program, find a reputable maintenance program. Get that maintenance program just so you can get some distance between you and your addiction. Now you're not sick anymore. You can start making better decisions. You can start focusing on your health a little bit. You can get yourself into better social circles. Find some new activities, sign up at a gym, get out of that old shit you were into and reinvent yourself. You can be a totally different person in a really short amount of time. I promise you that you can do that. But we gotta follow these steps and put them in place and implement them on a day-to-day basis, and that's the hard part. So again, recap, find your motivation, find your support group, find your maintenance program, reinvent your social circle, new activities, and then we keep going through that process over and over again. And next thing you know, you're decades away from your addiction and you're happy and you're healthy and people are coming to you for advice and asking you how you did it. So I'm gonna leave it there, guys. I'm excited to get back into this thing with Project Unbroken. Thank you for staying with us and keeping the comments coming. I appreciate it. I know that I needed that and I know Greg appreciates it as well. Like, subscribe, comment. Talk to you soon. See ya.